Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. It's October here in the off-season. You know what that means. Doug Censor Martin is at it again with the cheating accusations, coming at plenty of players in the ranked play system over the last few days, but also players that he's played online and have now gone to LAN, and he says they're nowhere near as good, and says they might well have something dodgy going on with their PCs. Are any of these accusations legit? Is Doug just seeing ghosts? Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. Temp trying his best to get a CDL spot by tweeting out this, classic image from, look at this, Austin 2015 MLGX games. Good times for sure. Now, Drazah has moved to Atlanta recently. We saw that, right? He left LA, gone out to Atlanta, Georgia, right, where the Atlanta guys are based, understandably, and he seemingly figured out the best thing to do there was just to play Chals, because immediately since he got there, he got the stream on, and he was grinding out Chals again. So you simply cannot stop this guy from playing 8s or Muddy 8s or, 6s, whatever he can get his hands on. Drazah's playing Chals, so you got to respect it, because I don't think that I've seen a bigger grinder than Drazah in quite a long time, and it was one of the reasons, in fairness, why he was deserving of a spot on OpTic Gaming Los Angeles all those years ago when he joined the team mid-season, and even since then he's really proved his worth in the league. And yeah, this FaZe team on paper is unbelievably good, and in a few minutes actually we'll look at a list of, or kind of some candidate teams for the best CDL roster never to win an event. And, well, you can actually argue that this current FaZe team, they haven't won an event yet. They haven't played an event yet. They haven't won an event yet. But, this team is definitely up there on paper with how good these guys should be. This, I don't really know the reference again with this guy, but I thought someone might find this funny, as TJ says, Prolute when he tortures 45 minutes, then he isn't in the channel. So, I don't really know what this is meant to mean, but I thought it could have been funny to someone out there, so I thought I'd mention it. Now, there was some really interesting things happening with this Cold War throwback tournament. This is happening today, actually, and we saw that Zuma was meant to be holding one of these. That is probably still going to happen, but there were issues with the funding for it, and I think the people that were sponsoring the prize pool wanted to do it on a different day, stuff like this anyway. So that's now been postponed somewhat, but there is this tournament going on that Sergio Lucken and the guys are putting together, which is really interesting because there are two teams in this which are literally CDL teams. And, well, I'm looking forward to watching how they get on, because we know that generally, so these are all the rosters, this is the first set of rosters, and then I'll show the other ones here in just a second. So, we got 15 rosters here, and then we've got, 17 rosters here. So, 32 teams total. But we know that usually teams aren't allowed to play as a team of 4 before the season begins. Yes, Activision aren't going to come in and say, oh, OpTic, you're playing TDM pubs as a 4. You're not allowed to do that. We don't want to see your roster in play. But if you're a tournament organizer, you can't just say, all right, inviting literally all the CDL teams to your event online and let them play. The CDL are happy with that. But we have seen some ways, at least recently, that teams could maybe get around this and actually play as a quartet in some of these tourneys, right? Just the other day, we saw the OpTic Texas team play Ghosts, and there was no issues with that, which is absolutely, there should be no issues with that. But, it's been a bit of a problem over the last few years that you never really get to see the teams play, even when they want to play tournaments, they're stopped from doing so. So, we've got some notable players here. All sorts of weird and wonderful teams, to be honest, have come into this one. We've got Arsty's playing, we've got Ghosty playing with Real and Snoopy and Kells, actually. We've got Drazah's team with Draz, Prolute, Decimate and Illy. TJ and Scrappy are playing together. There's all sorts going on. But then also on the next page, we find that we have all these other teams. So we've got Cammy and Afro playing with Rafi and Genesis, which is pretty interesting. Rafi, he's a UK player for sure, so I'm guessing the ping might not be so good there. I don't know if he is playing for the UK. We've got Brack, 2 Real Exceed and Fellow, Vivid, Spark, Yeez and Yuli. So all sorts happening. But at the bottom here, you'll find we have literally the entire Subliners team. And Miami Heretics, I just wanted to mention on Heretics that this is Vikul, JurNii, Erikboom, Lucky, we're just leaving MettalZ out of the 5. And to be honest, if there's any of the 5 players that I thought would get a starting spot, it might well be MettalZ. They might be doing something else, you don't really know. But maybe this is a sign that Heretics are thinking that this is going to be their starting 4, as opposed to having MettalZ on the roster. They might have MettalZ on the bench. I think it depends on how the game plays. MettalZ, I think, out of the Spanish guys, was probably one of the best, if not the best, of the most recent season. So I'm surprised to see if this is the 4 that they go for, but that's the 4 they're playing this Cold War throwback tourney with. And then we have Kismet, Simp, Skyz, HyDra. You might know these guys. They're the world champions. So people are wondering, well, why are they allowed to play in this? And, well, looking forward to seeing how they get on, obviously, because we haven't really seen in an actual tournament setting so far how one of these teams fares. Yes, it's Cold War, but those guys all played Cold War, at least. Okay, Simp wasn't playing in the Pro League at the time, and Kismet actually, I suppose, was out of the league as well. But nonetheless, they all played during that year, and, you know, the only thing we've got so far from these CDL rosters having been formed is OpTic playing in the show match the other day. This is another example, and people are wondering, how can they get away with this? My understanding is that if you invite all the teams, all the franchise teams, so the CDL will be like, what are you playing at? You can't do that type thing. But if you have some sort of open qualification, or you open it up to loads of different teams and then certain teams either qualify or get selected, then you can do it. So as Sergio says, I sent forms out to a lot of people, about 90 rosters were entered, and then the teams were randomly selected from those 90 down to 32, which I think is the way that you can kind of get around this. The funny thing is, like, I don't really fully believe that these teams were entirely randomly selected, because, you know, can you imagine Subliners enter your league or enter your competition and you say, well, the luck of the draw is against you, Mr. World Champion, like you ain't coming in type thing. I don't exactly think that's necessarily the case, but good news nonetheless that this is seemingly more and more possible nowadays. Now, we know that every single off-season, Doug always at some point begins his rampage against the cheaters in the world, and there's always cheating drama every single season. This year, the big one, of course, was Jimbo, right? Getting after, Pro League player, let's not forget, during the Vanguard year, Jimbo was on the Paris Legion, and he got banned this season at the World Championship for cheating, and we think he was cheating probably in practice or in some challenges, online tournaments before the World Championship, and then his account got caught in a wave of bans. I know that Doug was saying that Jimbo was cheating for a long time, and I'm sure he felt rather vindicated when that was confirmed. Now, there's also been other players that Doug has thought were cheating and were dodgy for some time, and some of those guys turned up to a LAN the other day and beat some kids 250-0. I can't imagine the guys on the other side were, particularly good at COD, or, because you can turn up to these local LANs, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be particularly good to go to it. So anyway, this is a 250-0 win, and maybe the implication was from these guys that, we just 250-0 these kids, we're not cheating online because we've just done it on LAN. And as Doug says, the fact that they're trying to use winning 250-0 versus, no disrespect, players that don't even play, just even adds to how blatant they are. Disrespectful and dishonorable people lying to their grave about cheating at a video game, the gig is up. So, and then of course the replies come through, and there's more of this in a second. I watched you lay down top bed in a 1v1 and try an army crawl to peak bomber, you got turned on. Online, I can't get a kill on you in 20 maps, but on LAN, you can't even decide what your next move is. So, Doug has this theory that players that destroy him online or are really good online, and then he slams them on LAN or just aren't as good on LAN, are being dodgy, right? And look, the problem is that it's super easy nowadays to cheat in these CODs. I mean, players have tried, they'll continue to try, whether it's aim hacks or more likely it's just, if players are doing something, it's just a slight wall hack somewhere to get some information. And it's so difficult to counter without an actual good anti-cheat and to figure out whether players are dodgy. But the incentives are so high to do so that I'm sure there's a load of players that are doing it. And even if the ones that Doug and others aren't calling out are actually legit, and that's the frustrating bit, the legit players will get caught up in the crossfire here, but it's kind of an inevitability of not having a particularly successful anti-cheat in the game. So Doug goes on to say, listen man, I've played COD for more years than you've been alive. Just be honest about yourself and real people will respect you. Everybody sees right through it. Brisky then says, the real truth is none of us cheat. And, I picked up COD this year, gained so much attention for all of you challengers and lone players because you think I'd cheat. Yesterday was a bad day or something on LAN, but doesn't mean that I'm not legit. And then Doug actually gives him a nice little statement here and says, you can just tweet this out and people will know what you're doing, and then you can stop cheating and maybe you can stay around the scene a little bit. But obviously if people are caught cheating, then they should be ousted, kind of what's happened with Jimbo. I don't imagine that Jimbo, he can change his name as many times as he likes to Lau or whatever. I don't imagine that he's going to be welcomed back in with open arms. So, and then this other guy comes back and says, you're in denial, nobody's cheating. And just because people say they're not cheating doesn't mean they aren't, because there's been loads of examples, even in recent memory. I can remember when people have tweeted out that, oh no, I'm legit, I'm like not cheating. And then it turns out they did actually get caught. But I think it is valuable on these things to take an innocent till proven guilty stance, because you know, I know that there's lots of players in multiple esports that will quite quickly accuse people of cheating that are legit, and that is a real problem for those players' reputations. But I also can't always blame the players for thinking that some of these guys are not legit, because there's so many players that aren't legit, and it's really tricky. So, yeah, as Doug then says, I watched you and your guys make every top challenger and CDL Pro look stupid in ranked, then watch you look stupid on LAN all day. Take accountability and be honest instead of cheating and lying about it. So, you know, without any proof, without any actual cheating ban for these players, it's kind of difficult for Doug to say either way. It's just he believes what he's seen, and he's got more experience playing and watching COD than we have, that these guys aren't legit. And then there was this other one, so I just wanted to share this for you guys. This guy, Locksteel. And look, I don't think any of these clips are anything blatant, but it was just a general feel, I guess, that Doug was getting that this guy wasn't fully legit. And Zuma maybe felt the same.
Enemy personnel at the hard point.
Tommy's cheating.
Who, Flog?
Log steal.
Oh, one's close. Close tunnel.
Bro, Absolute in the Hill is cheater. He is definitely cheating.
Flog still got me.
I want to play this guy on LAN and just embarrass him. He wouldn't get a kill, bro.
He got me. Log steal.
Yeah, of course he did. Of course, man.
I mean, he's shooting.
He's killing an MVP and a 2-time. Think about that.
I'm gonna be honest, no matter who I am, there's no shot I'm killing. This guy's bumping headset, like, he's stair glitching random crevices and cracks I never even knew were there.
Target area updated.
Yeah, apparently he's just God's greatest gift.
Big guy.
Lock steal again. Wow, look at this. Perfect flank, Lock steal. You're so smart.
How was he shooting like that? Who is that? That's Lock steal dab right there, right?
Yeah, he cheats.
But an MP7? Nah.
Enemies inside the ring.
Bro, it's fucking
Lock steal, right?
lasers.
Yeah, it's just what Lock steal does. He's just the best, I guess. No.
Oh my
Yeah. That's what you get, Lock steal. That's what you get, you cheating ass bitch. 32 my ass.
These people could just be the best. I don't know.
Yeah, right. For sure. I don't know, man. I don't know,
bro. There's like, this guy's shooting laser beams on head glitches cross map with a sub that kicks, and there's no aim assist.
And then if it's local area network, they're not even gonna hit you with the bullet. You'd be like, oh, he's so dead.
Yeah, I don't know, bro. It's just, that guy could just be good though, cause Lock steal, I don't know.
He's on our team, Tom. We have the Lock steal in the flesh on our roster right here, right now.
Yeah, we won, bro. Because Flog was shooting too. Wait, are they partying? Are Flog and Lock still partying? Because both of them were using the MP7 and they were going crazy, bro.
So as Doug goes on to say, if you really are this nasty, go compete and see how you do, or you could just go through private clips on my back end for clout to try and be a creator. Either way, I'm sure you'll make it. So yeah, basically the guy was saying that he is legit, and Doug says, well, I'm not so convinced, but sure, go compete and then we'll see how you get on. And just to close out with, as I mentioned before, as the CDL say, the best CDL roster to never win an event. So we're talking CDL. You can definitely look at Black Ops 4 Gen G, but that of course was pre-CDL technically. And I mean, you've got to, if we just consider rosters that have not yet, that have actually played an event, right? Because you can look at, oh, well, you know, Simp, aBeZy, Drazah, Cellium, best CDL teams to not win an event, but that doesn't really work. So you're looking at teams that actually have played events and failed to win. Now, there's two different ways to look at this, because best as in teams that were actually really good and didn't win, or teams that should have been really good and didn't win, you know? Like, if you looked at that Seattle Surge MW19 roster on paper, in some, you know, in terms of reputation, that team of like Octane, Apathy, Enable, Karma, and Slacked, they should have been really good. They were atrocious. But that doesn't really qualify as a best roster because they weren't actually any good when they turned up on paper. And, you know, so the best CDL teams, you got to look at FaZe Vanguard. I mean, they made, what, 4 finals, lost all of them, something like that. So they were very close. Obviously, the OpTic team in the most recent season, OpTic Texas, with Ghosty and Hook and Shotzzy and Dashy, they made 2 finals. They were the first ever team to go back-to-back 5-0 stages online. They didn't win an event. But I think that maybe even on the OpTic side, the better example might just be the OpTic Chicago team from Cold War, because on paper, Scump, Formal, Envoy, Dashy, I mean, they should have been way better than they were. And this is the thing, they weren't actually that good. So it's like, was that a best CDL team that didn't win? Or was that just like a theoretical best team? Because telling me this team of 4 didn't win an event is like, didn't even make a finals. It's like, you know, come on, I couldn't even believe it. But very much interested to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.